The Running Dream, Part 5, Chapter 7. The last days of summer break are some of the best of my life. Gavin runs with Sherlock and me in the mornings, and then Fiona, Mario, Gavin, and I spend time together when we can, at the park or in Old Town or just hanging out at a coffee shop, talking and laughing about nothing and everything. Cross-country practice has already begun, and although I can't go out for the team this year because most of the race courses are over uneven terrain, dirt hills or gravel paths where my running leg's not designed to go, I run laps around the track and continue to do speed work. I race the straightaways, then jog the curves, or I sprint a 200, then jog a 200, or if the team's doing street work, I join them for that. For most of us, cross-country is what we do to build up our base for track. Cairo unofficially requires it unless you're doing another fall sport, and although I was never a fan of distance running before, Cairo's "you're on your honor to run this weekend" is what got me into running the Agri Bridge Loop. So I've been working hard and improving at a pretty good rate. I'm up to at least 8 miles a day, 5 of them with a wheelchair that my dad's made much easier to push. It now has big wheels, a padded seat, and a broader footrest, plus a serious seatbelt and a handbrake for safety. He's also welded a crossbar between the handles so I can push one-handed if my arms need a break. He didn't stop there either. He replaced the potting soil with 25-pound sandbags, got me bike gloves for my hands, which are a lifesaver, and added pouches to the sides for water bottles, which is something I've really needed in this heat. I also got a good tip from Hank. I put antiperspirant on my stump. I was sweating and getting hot spots on my leg, having to dry out my liner mid-run to keep from getting blisters. The antiperspirant has really helped. I've been avoiding Rosa's house because I didn't want her to know what I was planning until I was sure I could do it. I'm still not sure I can, not even close to sure, but my mom brought up a good point. What if her mother doesn't want you to do this? So the Saturday before school starts, I finally decide that it's time, and I jog over to Rosa's house with Sherlock in the wheelchair. Rosa sees me coming. "Jessica!" she calls through the screen door. It's only 10 in the morning, but it's already 80 degrees out. A good day to stay inside. "Hey, what's that?" she asks, motoring out onto the porch. "Is your mom here?" I ask. "Mom!" she calls over her shoulder, then turns back to my wheelchair. "Who built that? What's in the seat? Where are you going?" Rosa's mom is on the porch now, too. "Hello, Jessica. Do you want to come in? It's awfully warm out here." No, I just need to ask you something." Rosa shakes her head. "All of us are asking questions. Who's got answers?" I smile at her. "I do. To answer yours first, my dad retrofitted my wheelchair so I could run with it." "You run with it?" Rosa asks. I nod. "And what's in the seat is 125-pound sandbag, and I pick up the white kitchen trash liner that's next to it, 2 5-pound sacks of flour." Is one. They both look at me like I've got sunstroke. I laugh, but I'm suddenly feeling very foolish. I focus on Rosa. "You know how you asked me about running? How you talk about the finish line? How it's some mystical thing that you wish you could experience?" Her eyes are growing wide. "Well, I've been running with this almost every day, adding weight to it, trying to build up to—" "Really?" she asks, and her eyes are enormous. "You're going to run me in that?" "What are you saying?" her mom asks, and there's definitely concern in her voice. "Well, I'm thinking Rosa and I could do the river run together. It's a 10-mile race, which is long, but it's the only community run around here. It's in November, so I have about 2 months to build up my endurance. But before I go any further with my training, I thought I should make sure it's okay with you and make sure Rosa wants to do it." "Yes, I absolutely want to," Rosa squeals from her seat. "Yes!" Mrs. Brazzi seems very skeptical. My dad's put on big tires and a padded seat to make the ride comfortable. Plus there's a wide seat belt and a handbrake for safety. I feel like a used car salesman, and Mrs. Brazzi is looking at me like I am one. "I promise I'll be safe," I tell her. "Please, Mom?" Rosa asks. Mrs. Brazzi sighs, then looks at me. "It's you pushing, right? No one else?" I nod. She looks at her daughter, looks at me, looks at the chair. Finally she sighs and says, "If this is what you girls want." "Awesome!" Rosa cries. Then she looks at me with wide eyes and says, "Can we try it now?" I think about it, then give a little shrug. You probably ought to try out the chair and see how it feels. So while she powers down the porch ramp in her motorized wheelchair, I remove the sacks of flour and the sandbag from the running wheelchair. Then Rosa locks her wheels and does a transfer. She's wobbly on her legs, and they won't really support her, but the transfer is actually very smooth. Her mother fusses with the safety belt and says to Rosa, "I'm going to get you a helmet." "No!" Rosa cries. "No helmet!" Rosa says it so forcefully that Mrs. Brazzi and I are both startled. "I just don't want to be the weird kid in the helmet," Rosa says quietly, "and I want to feel the wind." I think back. How many times have I told Rosa about facing into the wind, cutting into the wind, feeling the wind run cool fingers through your hair, more times than I can count. Believe me, I say to Mrs. Brazzi, I won't be going that fast. She considers all this, then heaves another sigh. Okay, then. Thank you, Mom, Rosa cries. Oh, thank you. So I push off and run Rosa down the block. One short block. Rosa's mother is waiting on the sidewalk when we return, and Rosa is ecstatic, bubbling about how much fun it is. Me, I'm pouring sweat and exhausted. I want to yank off my leg and jump in the mermaid fountain. It was only one block, one short block. Rosa and her mother have both come on board with this, but now I do seriously wonder about the sanity of it. If one block was this hard, how will I ever make it 10 miles? Chapter 8. There really is no backing out now. Gavin, Fiona, Mario, Mom, Dad, Kaylee, they all tell me everyone will understand if I decide it's too hard, but I can't quit now. I just can't. So I confide in Cairo and I ask him to help me. I need to get strong enough to do this, I tell him after school is back in session. We're in his classroom and I watch as his strong, graceful hands sort stacks of paper, clipping them into groups as he thinks. Finally he says, pushing close to 100 pounds plus the weight of the wheelchair, that would be hard for any able-bodied person. Hey, I'm able-bodied. He eyes me. You know what I mean. Then he adds, and more important, it's the weight. How much do you weigh, Jessica? 120, 130? With or without my leg? I just shrug. So you're pushing close to your own weight over 10 miles. Look, I tell him, I'm going to do it. I'm asking you to help me. He holds my gaze for a long moment, then nods. Okay. He turns to his calendar. What are we looking at? 8 weeks? And what are you up to? The river run is the first weekend in November. I did 5 miles with 40 pounds this morning. Plus the wheelchair? I nod. And what was your level of effort? It was hard, I admit. He nods again. Okay, I'll work up a schedule and we've got to get you into the weight room and on a muscle-building diet. He eyes me, but there's a twinkle behind the seriousness. You thought the 400 was bad? I laugh, but I know I'm in for it, and that's okay. It's the only way I'll get Rosa over that finish line. Chapter 9. I stick to Cairo's plan. I alternate running and lifting. I'm sore a lot. I ice my legs after hard runs. I hydrate the way he wants me to. I eat a lot of tuna. I take good care of my stump, watching for hot spots, avoiding chafing and blisters. I add another sandbag to the wheelchair. Guys in the weight room eventually accept me, eventually quit staring at my leg. I go in, work out, sweat buckets, and get out. I focus on the goal, focus on Rosa's happiness, focus on the finish line. Gavin runs with me when he can, and we do our homework together almost every night. Kaylee's a freshman now and very impressed that my boyfriend is Gavin Vance. He's like popular, she tells me one night. I laugh. Yeah, unbelievable, right? And then one Saturday afternoon, I'm doing a long, slow distance run without the wheelchair when a funny thing happens. A stranger calls out my name. Jessica! I'm near Old Town, familiarizing myself with the River Run route, and when I turn, I see a woman with her 2 children waving at me from across the street. You're Jessica, she calls. I laugh and wave. Yes, I am. Good for you, she calls back. Congratulations. Thank you, I shout and continue running. This buoys me through my run, and after this first time, it happens almost every time I run. People call to me from cars, wave at me from bridges, shout, Run, Jessica, from across the street. Somehow the word has spread through our little town that the one-legged girl is running again. As I run, I wonder how many of these people helped by my leg. I wonder about the deep, wide abyss between good intentions and concrete action, and how many of them leapt across it. Is that why they're so happy to see me run? Because they helped make it happen? Or are they just happy to see the girl they read about in the paper, the one they saw peg leg around on TV, running again? Either way, I find their enthusiasm to be contagious. It helps me press on, helps me add weight to the wheelchair, and when they ask why I'm pushing sandbags in a wheelchair, I'm happy to tell them about Rosa and the river run. Wish me luck, I always say, and they do. I get a lot of thumbs up. I get a lot of thumbs up back. I give a lot of thumbs up back. Some weekends, Gavin joins Sherlock on me on my distance run. He's offered since the beginning to take turns pushing the wheelchair, but I made a deal with Mrs. Brazzi, and besides, this is something I want to do for Rosa. Then Fiona and Mario decide they want to join us, and as my entourage grows, so do the cheers. Man, Mario says one Saturday after about the 10th go, Jessica, this is crazy. But as much as I like the encouragement, something about it bothers me, and after it happens again, I tell the other. This is supposed to be about Rosa, not me. But you're the one doing it, Fiona says. I slow down, then stop. I'm pushing 75 pounds, and all of a sudden I've had enough. You okay, Gavin asks. I shake my head. I probably spend too much time thinking about this, but in my mind, this is more than just a run for Rosa. It's a run about Rosa. You know, like a coming out party, where we can say, hey, this is our friend Rosa. Pay attention, people. She's a really great person and a math genius, too. As we walk along, I tell them about Rosa's notes and what she wrote about wishing people could see her, not her condition. I want people to see her. I want it to be a really special day for her. Gently, Gavin tells me, but if you're our town celebrity, which it looks like you are, you're the one who will bring the attention to Rosa. You're the one who will help people see Rosa. If I pushed her, it wouldn't have the same impact as it will do when you do it. Everyone's quiet for about half a block, and then Fiona says, remember last year at the river run when Cairo had us passing out Gatorade? There were runners who had their names on their shirts, and complete strangers would shout out their names as they ran by. Maybe we can make Cheer for Rosa or Team Rosa shirts. Leave it to Fiona to come up with something brilliant. I look at her and smile. Team Rosa, I love that idea. We could do signs or flags, tall ones. She's thinking a mile a minute. We could strap them to the wheelchair and... Oh, nice, I tell her. Increase my wind resistance? She ignores me and my increased wind resistance. Gavin, Mario, and I could toot horns or shake clappers or... Oh, I'm going so slow you've got the energy to toot horns? She faces me. You're pushing 100 pounds. I laugh and say, and you're willing to wear silly shirts and toot horns and carry flags for 10 miles? But what's silly really is my question. I'm in, she says, putting her hand out, palm down. Me too, Mario says, putting his hand on top of hers. So am I, Gavin says, piling on. I add my hand to the stack, and Sherlock seals the deal with a happy ow. Team Rosa is official. Chapter 10. Someone calls Channel 7. Marla Sumner calls me. Why didn't you tell me you were doing this, she asked. This is an amazing story. I agreed to doing a story, but I have one condition. The focus needs to be on Rosa. Still, the process leaves me very uncomfortable. Marla starts out at Rosa's house, and after the initial interview there, the news crew follows me everywhere. On a run with the wheelchair, driving to school with Fiona, in the weight room with football players, on the track with Cairo, the focus definitely does not feel like it's on Rosa. Finally, when Marla asks me, what do you think about when you run, I snap. Look, I tell her, this is not about me. I'm doing this for Rosa. And yeah, at first I just wanted her to experience a run, to cross the finish line and hear people cheering for her, because that's something she's wanted. But you know what? Her biggest wish isn't to cross a finish line or have people cheer for her. It's to have people see her instead of her condition. That's all anybody with a disability wants. Don't sum up the person based on what you see or what you don't understand. Get to know them. She packs up quickly after that, and I feel a little bad for having snapped because I know she means well, but the truth is, I'm glad she's gone. Then Friday night, when the story airs, I discover that Marla Sumner has put her own spin on things. Jessica Carlisle is back on 2 feet, and this time she's running for a cause. My mom and dad look at me, and I give them a wide-eyed shrug. She's not raising money, Marla states. She's raising awareness. I am? I asked the televised Marla. And then she launches into the story. They asked Rosa and me to mock up a tutoring session, and this is the footage Marla's voice speaks over. Rosa Brazzi was born with cerebral palsy, a condition caused by damage to the motor control centers of a developing brain. Similar to a stroke, cerebral palsy can occur during pregnancy, childbirth, or up to the age of about 3. And although there is a broad range in how CP can affect a person, in Rosa's case, her motor functions have been hindered, but her brain is as sharp as they come. The camera is on me now. She's a math genius, I say with a laugh. I never would have made it through algebra without her help. And since one good turn deserves another, Marla's voice is saying, Jessica Carlisle wants to help Rosa do something she would never be able to do on her own. Go for a run. When Jessica runs me, Rosa says, I feel like I'm flying. Now there's footage of Rosa in the running wheelchair as I push her down the block. The goal, Marla's voice is to cross the river run finish line this November. The shot swings around to behind us running, zeroing in on my right leg. But for a young woman with a handicap of her own, pushing 100 pounds along 10 miles is not something that can be done on a whim. Now there's a series of clips of me, running with the sandbags through Old Town, waving at the garbage collector as he calls my name, working in the weight room at school, and doing speed work on the track. All of it has Marla's commentary over it. Then she asks, so what in a nutshell is the cause Jessica and Rosa are running for? Quite simply, it's to have people see them, not their condition. And then there's the footage of me saying, that's all anybody with a disability wants. Don't sum up the person based on what you see or what you don't understand. Get to know them. Then they switch back to the studio where Marla and Kevin are behind the news desks. The river run is in 2 short weeks, Marla says, looking into the camera as she winds up the story. We'll be there live, and we'll hope you'll join us in cheering for Rosa. And Jessica, Kevin adds. Marla smiles. They're quite a team. After the TV's clicked off, Mom stares at me. Dad stares at me. Kaylee, who's been texting the whole time, says, I thought you were crazy before, but I get it now. And I stare at her because the funny thing is, that's exactly how I feel.